Ah, the perfect fabric to make my husband a shirt for our next barbecue. I'll show you how easy they are to make. Coming up. So Mike and I came across this fabric last year in Arizona at a fabric store called SAS, S-A-S. There's several of them. I did a video on the fabric stores of Arizona. I'll put a card up here for you to see. And it was a huge store, and they had a whole section there called food. We were like, kind of got stuck there. A lot of cottons. I love to sew with cotton. It's like the best fabric. We found pizza fabric, sushi fabric. I found the vodka bottle one. I made the aprons out of it for my friends. And that was at another store, though. This other really great store in Arizona. It's called 35th Avenue or something. Huge store. I loved that store. But if you're in Arizona, check out SAS. There's there's 3 or 4 of them. I used to shop there when I was a kid. A long time ago on Indian School Road. Oh my gosh. And they used to sell fabric by the pound. But I go in there and get lost for an hour or so. But this was such a fun fabric. Mike and I came across it. We were like, oh my God, because he's kind of silly and he likes fun, silly shirts. He's so lucky I can sew. Then he gets any shirt he wants. Find a fabric? Hey, make me a shirt. But he never asks. Anyway, I was going to make an apron out of this. So this would actually be a really cute apron. Oh my gosh, like a barbecue apron. If I have anything left over, I could even maybe piece it together. I could even use some of the hamburgers and put them in, I don't know, figure it out. Because there's 3 yards here, and I pre-washed it. Looks like a lot of fabric, but men's shirts do take some space. But this is the pattern I got. It's a simplicity. I've had it for a while. I've made many shirts out of this for Mike. And every shirt, I take it there and I alter it, pin it, and then alter it right from there. And I don't write notes on the pattern. Like, okay, take the hem is 1.5 inches, the sleeve is this, and do this, do that, and then buttonhole markings, all that kind of stuff. If you do that to your pattern, I did that the last time. I actually went into my pattern, marked it, and altered it all. So now I just cut the pattern. Probably wouldn't even have to fit it on them. I can just do it. So that's why now it might be 3 hours. I always put an hour in for cutting because you have to make sure it's on the grain line right, double check, because if you don't get it cut right, then you have a mess. So, but I think the sewing part, if you're a really good sewer, you could do it in 3 hours. And if you had everything ready, like you had your interfacing, your buttons, and you're not looking around for stuff, because that wastes a lot of time. Men's patterns, there's some patterns out there for men's, and you really don't need a new one every time because it's a men's shirt, right? There's some with stand-up collars, some with regular collars, some with yokes. There's little differences, but find a pattern you really like. But this one's just basic. This one's no yoke. It's just shoulder seams, 1 pocket, not even a stand collar. Those actually add a little more complication to things. They're nice, but they're a little bit harder to do. Classic, simple shirt. There you go. Yeah. Make a shirt. Let's see how fast I can make it. I am gonna get started and lay this out, get it cut out, and then tomorrow I can probably start sewing it. Okay, have the fabric laid out. Got my selvages matched up. I'll lay down on the cutting board. All my hamburgers are going one way. I have the pattern. See, each pattern piece takes up the whole width of this. So this one is a cut on the fold, and I actually extended that, so I have to start this one up here. Okay, have these pinned down, have them all on grain. Got my straight grain right there. My facing I bumped right onto the selvage because there is a hamburger right in the middle that I want it to show up. So there's a little bit of writing on the selvage, but it's chow time. But I want to make sure the hamburger doesn't get cut off. So now I'm going to cut this off right here, right to the bare edge. Okay, have this. Usually I'd tear it, but the pattern's already on there. I'll cut that, and then I'll have a separate piece to then cut my sleeve on there. Okay, ready to cut these. I'm actually going to cut this all with pinking shears because I'll probably won't bring out my overlock machine, which I should. I might, yeah. But if not, pinking shears helps the frustration level while you're sewing. And then if I don't bring out my overlock machine, it's buried in a closet, I'll just zigzag all this so that it doesn't fray. And the fabric's already been pre-washed, so I know that's going to help. Okay. Cut that. I can't just fold it because I have to make sure they're all right sides up. So now I'm gonna do these wrong sides together so I can see where the burgers are at. That's not right. Wrong sides together. Make sure my burgers are going right side and right side. Then I'll put them on there, make sure this is all even here. I know this grain is straight. Lay it on the board straight. And then put this here. Ooh, squeezing it. Yeah, this other piece is a little, it's like right on the, oh man. Got a little close here. I'm gonna have to sacrifice. This little top piece is a little shorter. Oh shoot. How did I do that? I don't know. Okay, let's see if I can get this on grain. This is on here, right? This. Get this on the grain. Bump it right up to that edge. Yes, whew. And then I gotta look and see where these hamburgers are. I'm gonna try and get those hamburgers right there in the middle. I gotta look on the other side before I go doing this all accurate. I'm gonna got the two hamburgers right here. See where they are on the other side. Pin. Oh, pretty good. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's gonna be good. I'm gonna get this on grain now. If the grain lines aren't lined up right, the whole shirt looks pretty bad. It drapes funny, it twists on you, side seams go try to find the center, and this is right on the border. Oh boy, this is, okay, pin these down. I like to pin too with not putting my hands underneath. I see that a lot from my students. They put it underneath and then they mess up the pattern. So I gotta just get practice going. Down, up, like that. I just gotta go down, up, practice, down, up. I use my finger weight right here to keep it down. I poke myself all the time, but it's not a big deal. Okay, so there's that. Now I'm gonna check where these hamburgers are just before I cut. Pretty good. And the top of this it's right about here, so it's going to hit right there. It's pretty matched up. Okay. Say go for it. I got wrong sides together, so that means I'll have two equal ones when it comes out. There's that. And then right, my next step is to clip the notches. I have to definitely get the sleeves. I don't use the shoulders because I know that's the shoulder. Get a center back one. I always like to know where my center back is. Just a little tiny V. Side seam I don't need, but some other people would. Just a little double notches to show me which way is the back, which is kind of obvious because it's on the fold. So I'll clip all the notches, and then next up I gotta cut interfacing. I'm gonna use this one. It's a really lightweight one. I love the grains in this. And it's got some fusible here. So I'm gonna do the front facing in here, and then possibly, I think I'll do one collar piece. I might get a lighter Pellon piece to do the other lining in here to keep it from It's got a lot of stretch in it. This is not too bad. Cutting out the interfacing, what I like to do is just put the pieces on here. It sticks to it, and then I don't have to pin it. But when you use the tissue paper, you have to pin it and slide around. And this is definitely a straight grain on here. Interfacing supposedly doesn't have a grain, but I think this one really does. You can see the lines in there. So I'm just gonna cut this out, and then I'm gonna do just one layer for the collar. I'm gonna see how thick it becomes, because you don't want a collar too crunchy thick. And I don't know how this interfacing is gonna react when you get it pressed on. Just cut interfacing, and then I'll be ready to press it on and get the collar and the front facing done today. First thing I like to do is, in the instructions there will be like there will be a section that says to hem the edge of this part of the facing. This is where the collar goes, this is the center front, and then this will be the edge of it. So it'll want me to do that. So what I want to do in the interfacing is to trim that part right there. So I like to do probably about 3/8 of an inch, just chunk off part of that, because if you interface it all the way and then you turn it in, it's like a lot of layers of fabric, and then it gets thick. And on the front facing, I like it to be much or thinner. Just trim this off here before I attach the glue part to the facing. And then it's always good to pre-press your piece that's going to be interfaced to get any little bubbles out, because the glue will stick to the bubbles on your fabric and then cause a problem. The goal is not to have any puckers on your fabric, and the glue crystals can cause that, so you have to be careful. So now I'm going to put the interfacing on here, and this is the part now I can actually turn it this way when it's ready to finish that edge. I'm actually I have a little bit more, so I'm gonna it's good to kind of layer these up too. It doesn't have to go all the way, especially because this is the seam allowance, so as long as it's just a tad into the seam allowance, you're good. And I have this cut on my selvage because I wanted to get those hamburgers in there, so I'm hoping that all that selvage, I have to really sew it so that they hide under there. It's real important to use a press cloth on interfacing, at least at first, because you don't want any glue crystals getting on your iron. And then you want to press without twisting and sliding the iron, because the goal is to melt the glue crystals under there. Let it cool for a little bit. I like to take a ham and let it cool under there. The Taylor's ham. It's good for many reasons. And just the goal is to have this real smooth, no puckers under there. And then just get it started with a press cloth, and then you can turn it to the right side of the fabric. Okay, there's that piece. Now, make sure there's no puckers in here, and then I'm going to iron this. Really put some heat on it, some pressure. Those glue crystals to adhere to the fabric, not cause any little puckering. All right, now I have this trimmed here, and now I'm going to just get that little, it usually says 1/4 inch. My fingers don't work very well with 1/4 inch. I usually get 3/8. This part is just to hem it so it has a nice finish on the inside. Like that, let it cool for a minute. Another way of getting more heat on this interfacing in stages. Make sure it stays. And this is ready to stitch and have it all nice finished edge. for the collar, the two pieces. To figure out what's the under collar and what's the upper collar. I don't know. Hard to say. I think this will probably be the upper collar. I like to put the interfacing on the under collar. It's the part that will be more towards the body of the shirt. And I just chose it from the design because this one's more in the middle. And I love those pickles. Gosh. So I got that pressed, and then I'm going to press this interfacing. And this isn't a really thick interfacing. If it was, I'd probably trim some of it around here so it didn't go all the way up to the edges. It's pretty soft. And I'll see how it reacts and see if I want to do a double layer. Sometimes you do that and it's just too thick. You don't want a crunchy collar, unless you do. Is this? A lot of times too, when you sew two collars together, the interface side seems to shrink in a tad. So I bet if I put this on here, a lot of times the collars are not the same. But it is pretty good. A lot of times you'll see like one collar grow more. And I actually cut this on the cross grain to get that design. But it is pretty good. It stayed right on there. So yeah, just interfacing, it tends to shrink up but it's also a lot in how you press it. So you have to just kind of press it like this and try to keep the fabric in its shape and not allow it to shrink. Touching that interfacing is going to get all over my iron. Right there. Oof. And you go touch other stuff and then it gets stuff all over your other fabrics. Okay, iron's had enough. Great, now I know that that's all even, and then what I got to do on here is sew this 5/8 around here with real sharp corners. I'll be pivoting right there. And then there is a part here that has to get clipped and then folded up here. So I'll do all that when I get to the collar. At the pocket I haven't cut yet. It did suggest doing a bias or a straight grain. And I was thinking, this is the scrap of fabric I have left, and maybe putting the hamburgers on the bias. I want to get my favorite hamburgers, and it's that one and that one. Get those right in the center of the pocket, see how that works, and possibly interface the pocket. Yeah, especially if it's on the bias, it might stretch out. Might help it so it doesn't start to pucker a little later on. But that would be fun to put like a pocket kind of twisted on top of all these horizontal hamburgers. All right, I'm gonna lay this out, see what I can get. All right, here's the piece of fabric I have. Got my selvage here, so that's the length grain. And then these are my two favorite hamburgers, or they're on this side. Right? I like the pickle, that's right. So now the grain line here, if I get it on, I think this one, if I get this on the cross grain one, which will be the bias grain at the end, I got a hamburger and a hamburger and pickle, and then I have seam allowances coming around here. I could always, to get the whole thing in here, make this pocket just a tad bigger and then do smaller seam allowances there and see if I can get the complete burger in there. Because at this point, let's see, I got to get it on the grain here. Lay that out. Right, yeah, it was a good guess. Right about there. Yeah, and that would make my pickles. One right there, one right there. And I have the seam allowances right here. So I think I might go out just a tad more. Also, I want this burger, would be fun to be a little bit more, but I don't know if I can get it in there more the way it's cut. And so the burger would be right here, and then there's a seam allowance here. Yeah, and then I got that one there. So that's about all I can do. So I'm gonna pin that down, and then just do 1/4 inch or about 3/8 of an inch fold over the pocket to get that whole burger in there. I guess it doesn't really matter if the whole burger's not in there, but yeah, that's gonna look really good. So I'll get this cut. And then I also like to cut these with pinking shears because then it's not fraying on the inside there. It will a little bit, and if I interface it, it won't. And now to clip the fold part, I just put like little clips right here that tells me where that fold line's gonna be. I'll go like that, right where my clips are, right there. Okay, so look at this. Looking at a perfect piece right there. Yeah, I'll get this cut on the grain line right here on the bias, and that'll give it a little extra softness, but yet help it keep its shape. I'm going to trim this side. It's where the pocket will come up, so just a little bit of stability, but not much. So if I went all the way, it would be then you fold it up and it's just too thick. So this is going to be where the fold up is. And the fold up here, fold up there. All right, I'm going to go and press this on. Have the interfacing pressed on there. I just got it in that part between the seam allowances. Then the best way to then press this pocket is to press the long side first. Get those really straight. Let them cool to form a really strong crease right here. And you want to take the bottom part here, and you don't want these to go past that length line here, because when you sew it, then you'll have a little part that sticks out. So then you want to press that down and then let that cool. These get so hot they're hard to touch. Like that. So right here, you don't want that to poke out like that. We're going to be tucking that in, so because we'll be sewing real close to the edge there. And sometimes you can even just tuck it under, or if you clip it, you just got to make sure you don't clip it too close. Just get it, make sure it's in there real close. And then this one, it's going to do a little extra fold under there, like that. And now this one, the fold here, it's going to go under like this, and then there's going to be a top stitch here. There's my hamburgers right there on the side. That's going to be, looks good. Oh, I probably could have gone in a little bit further. Looks like I have it there. Yeah, is that a wide pocket? It's probably fine. My husband's 6'3", so you can take the wideness there. Now to get this peak here, because you want it right there in the center, just take this evenly 1/2 inch. I think that's what it called for, 1/2 inch. Whatever the pattern calls for. Sometimes it's pockets, sometimes it's a complete 5/8 there. So I just went all the way there. Now I'm going to take the 5/8 or the 1/2 inch and then go there. And then you should have a peak that ends up there. Let that cool for a second. And then the way to make sure that that's even, so this is how it looks on the other side. Just fold it in half. See if that peak is right there in the middle. Yeah. So then this will go under here. Actually, like that. And you'll be top stitching it. You have to feel for that line and top stitch right here. Or make sure your bobbin is, like in this case, white, or could be yellow would be good. Just sew it from the top, then your thread will be there. I believe it's going to call for this to fold in like this, hit the fold line, and that was my interfacing right here is right there at the fold line, so that it helps. And I'm going to fold it there, and then, so wait, it goes this way. It'll go that way. I like to have have that, and then I'll sew here, reverse stitch it. Oh yes, this pattern actually had you stitch here and then press it. But because I have interfacing, this just went pressed really well. But I still have to get this folded under. So I'll be stitching, I'm going to stitch it like just right there, reverse it, and then I'll flip it inside out. Although it is even working really nice like this. I could just stitch it. And it'll just stitch right down there. So that actually might be fine. The interfacing in here, it's holding its shape really well. If you don't have interfacing in there, then you have to do as the pattern says. Let's see. Make sure this all stays down. And this kind of sticks a little bit to the little glue crystals that are hiding under there. Because this will all get stitched and then that will get stitched, so I don't really even need to fold it like it suggests. So many ways to make a pocket. Okay. And these are so hot. Let that cool. Okay, now I gotta top stitch this right here. And then I top stitch it onto the shirt. Okay, top stitch that. That's how it looks on the other side. Actually did a little 2 top stitches right there, like double top stitched right there. Looks good. Now all I have to do is sew that to the shirt. Going to put the pocket onto the shirt. Gotta find which way the shirt goes, or which way the pocket goes. And these are the only marks I have, so go with the large and extra large. And it says left side, so I gotta find the left side of the shirt. It's the right. Just get rid of this one, and I'll have the left right here. Right there. So I'll do it this way. And I'll put this right here and get those marks so they don't have them down lower. It's just there. So get this all lined up where it was. I'll put a pin there and a pin there on the large and extra large. I'll lift this up. Put a mark there with the friction pin. Put that out. Now line this up to the table, this straight edge, that's where the facing is. I have my little dots here. And then my pocket is right here, and I can see through the table, so I can see that this is also where the straight grain is. So I just got to make sure it fits right there. Line that up there. It's a little close to there, but I guess that's the seam allowance is here. Facing here. Might drop it in because I added to that pocket. I'm going to go a little bit in, do like a half and half. Because you don't want it too close to the armhole sleeve. It probably looks a little funny. It goes here. Yeah, because this pocket's wider. Now that I look at it, it's really wide. But that's cute how the hamburgers are going across a different way. I like it. Now all I have to do is I'm going to make sure that little tail stays under there. Just go around and do a real quick top stitch around it. I'm going to put these pins in a direction where I can easily pull them out. The direction I'm going to sew, because I'm going to start probably here and go around. I think I'm also going to do a double stitch like I did here. So I'll go once around and then another one around there and just anchor that in, and that'll be the pocket. All right, have the pocket on. That looks so great. It's nice and crisp. Did a double stitch all the way around it. It looks great. Now I'm ready to start putting the shirt together. All right, I'm ready to move on to the shoulder seams. So I'm gonna get the back pattern here, right there, and put the shoulder seams together, right here. And what I like to do on a lot of shoulder seams is put some twill tape on the shoulder right here to keep this from stretching right here, because look at the stretch in that. It's kind of a odd cut. So if I put it here, this will keep it taut right there. So what I have to do there is cut 2 pieces off. This is a wide twill tape. This is about, I guess, 3/4. Usually it comes a little bit narrower, so the wider one is actually a little bit easier to work with. And a lot of the packaged twill tapes are crispy. This is an old vintage one I had, so I don't know. But I'm gonna pin this behind here, and I think I have it pretty even, kind of estimating where the 5/8 is at. I'm gonna just sew 5/8 right here. Try to get it somewhat in the middle of that tape. And the 5/8 is right here. That. It's right about, it should be in the middle of that tape. Do that on both sides. I have a video out about how to sew shoulder seams and how to attach the twill tape so that you don't get stretch. If you ever look in your own clothes, you'll see there's usually some kind of tape. Sometimes it's a little elastic piece of tape or some kind of weird little clear tape. It just keeps the shoulder seams from moving around, and it really helps the garment hang better and all and look better. So I'll put a card up for you to see that. And all right, I'm going to go and sew this and reverse stitch and sew there and reverse stitch there. Get both of those shoulder seams sewn. All right, have it all stitched and pressed open. Got it pretty close to the center of that twill tape. And now, another thing I think what I'm going to do, since it's my husband's shirt, and I didn't bring my overlocker out. I should overlock these seams, but you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a top stitch right on top of that to hold that seam down from the wash, like it doesn't move around. And then if it frays, because it's pinked, it'll just fray a little bit at the end. I think I'm going to do a cute little top stitch, because the stitching looks really good. When I top stitch this, it looks good on this fabric, so I think I'm going to do that. Yes, and then onto the collar. Okay, that is part 1 of making a men's shirt. Simplicity 8180. A lot of the other patterns out there too have the same general makings. You'll see the same kind of general instructions. There's this pattern, Simplicity 1544. It has a stand-up collar here and a little different system. It also has, I think, a different front facing. That's where they're a little different. This also has some of the patterns have yokes in it, so that one's going to be a little bit different. But this is a great first pattern to do men's shirt. It's really found it's really straightforward, easy to do. So 3 hours, possible if you do a few. This was a shirt I made for Mike a few years ago. I was doing a sewing retreat, campsewsocial.com. Check that one out. And we had him as our host, or helper, and we called him Tim Fun instead of Tim Gunn from Project Runway. But fun fabric from Joann's, and made a simple shirt. So whenever and I got the pocket on here, did the double top stitching here also, put the set up the pocket the right way. So the pockets you really want to do. That's why it took a lot of time on that, is to do them really well, because if they don't come out good, you can really tell then that the shirt was handmade. Well, that's not a bad thing, but you want to do it really well, right? Because people tend to go, let me see how that looks. So that's why I think the pressure on to sew well is there. But I hope this video helped to get you through the first part. We did the shoulder seams, the interfacing, pattern cutout layout, which takes, you want to get that correct, and the notches and all. And in the next video, we'll tackle the collar, the sleeve, the underarm seam, and the hems, and then the shirt's done, right? So I'll see you in part 2. I'll be editing that and have that up next. And hope this all helps. And I'll see you in the next video.